The question was framed to me, we all have our whys and our reasons for doing what we do in life and our whys for living. What is my why? Well, my why has been a evolved answer. It's been the evolution of my why. So what I mean by that is when I was a teenager, looking back, when I was a teenager, 13, 14 years old, my why was I didn't want to be broke. That was my why. I didn't want to be broke. I was, by that time, 13 or 14 years old, we were evicted we lived in a little one bedroom efficiency. My mom, myself, and my dad, we were evicted out of that, forced off the island of Hawaii. I have shared that story in the past. But that became a very defining moment for me because it motivated me to just get to the gym. So in my mind, the only way that I wasn't going to be broke, that my family wasn't going to be broke at that time, we had fallen on some hard times, tough times in 1986. And I thought, well, the only way that I can do something about it was actually to go build my body and make something of myself. And that was my why. So throughout my entire teen life, 13 through 19, 20 even, 21, even all throughout college at the University of Miami, playing for the U, I just did not want to be broke. And that was my why. Then once I got into professional wrestling, my why evolved to not necessarily I didn't want to be broke, but my why just became my passion because I loved professional wrestling. And even though I was starving down in Memphis, making $40 per match, we lived at the Waffle House 3 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks were always at the Waffle House. This was the only thing we could afford. So thank you, Waffle House, for taking care of me all those years. My why at that time, because I felt like I was living my passion, and I felt like money's gonna come. And even if money didn't come, I was just so grateful that I was doing something that I loved. So my why evolved from not being broke, I didn't want to be broke, then to just my passion. Then when I was 29 years old, something changed. Something happened that changed my life. My first daughter, Simone, I hope you can hear me, it's kind of like a rainstorm here. My first daughter was born. My first daughter, Simone, was born when I was 29. And by this time, I was already a professional wrestler. I was famous. I was making a nice nickel. I wasn't going to be evicted anymore. And I was doing something that I loved. But when I held Simone, I realized in that moment that I realized the power of living for something more important than myself. And I had never experienced that in my life because truth is I grew up a pretty selfish kid. I was the only child. And when you kind of grow up only child and, your parents are working hard, doing everything they can to make ends meet, I had this attitude that I was going to eat first. Not eat first before my parents, but just eat first, like I'm going to take care of me first. And I don't know whether it was an only child syndrome or whether it was I was seeing struggle. And I was like, you got to go out. I got to get mine. I got to get mine. So I was like that for years. Even when I was wrestling, I was like that. But when I held my first daughter, Simone, my life changed like that for the better. And that birth changed my why. My why then became my daughter. And now these days, my why is my daughters, Simone, Jasmine, and baby Tia, and my family, my wife, my loved ones, my friends who I keep very close to me, and I could count them all on one hand. That's my why, is taking care of them. And also, there's 2 parts to that, is taking care of family, but then also legacy. The why, my why today becomes taking care of my family and legacy. And legacy being acutely aware of the decisions that I make and trying to make the best decision for my family and for my legacy, because that legacy is all we have. When we're walking in the clouds, it's the legacy that we leave behind is, I mean, that's what becomes real. That's the anchor. That's history. We've made history. And there's a direct pathology for our legacy from beginning to end. You could trace it back. So one day when I'm walking in the clouds, you could look back on that pathology, the day my last breath, all the way back to when I was born, and everything in between is that legacy. And to me, legacy isn't about being famous or anything like that. The legacy applies to all of us, and it is our legacy that makes up who we are, the legacy that we leave behind. So these days, my legacy is my family, my loved ones, and the legacy is important to me. And, now, by the way, the truth is, and those who are close to me know that I still feel this way. I still operate every single day like my back is against the wall, like I'm 2 days away from still being evicted, like I still have $7 in my pocket. I operate like that every single day. That mindset is in the forefront of my mind. That keeps me sharp. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me hungry. And that mindset also keeps my therapist very busy too. Hey, good doctor, I got something you can't find in my mind. But those are my whys. So 6.5 minutes, you are never going to get back. I'm interested to know what your whys are. I have a feeling I know what they are for most of you. You're like, your why is your tequila. Yeah, sometimes it is. Stay strong. Let's try and stay healthy. I know you guys are going through it all around the world. I'm reading your messages, I'm seeing everything, and we're getting updates. We're refreshing our news and our information by the minute, it seems. So let's get through this thing. I believe that we will. Stay healthy, stay strong. Let's try and stay positive. And thank you for all the great questions. I've really been enjoying it and enjoying this time that we can stay connected and engaged. And I could share with you, some of the things that I've learned over life and and share with you how I can dust off more than half a bottle of tequila and still sing in keys that don't exist. Stay strong. Chat soon.